Hello friends. Today I decided to make a video about responsibilities. A while ago, in the summer, I had a lecture where I was talking about responsibilities that all of us need to take on. In this way, we become true, strong beings. And I'd like to talk about these responsibilities today. Also some of the responsibilities I talked about in that lecture I did in the summer. People loved this lecture. They thanked for it very much. And thus I decided it would be useful to share those insights, observations, these experiences, so that other people could hear them as well. Mainly, I'll talk a lot just from my own experience of how I took on certain responsibilities myself and how these responsibilities were just changing my life. So firstly, maybe a bit, I'll talk about my own story. Exactly how I got to taking on these responsibilities. And I think a lot of you may already know the story, but maybe more people will appear who don't know it yet, and just in this way I'll introduce to them as well. So just briefly about me. 7 years ago, I got into a car accident, during which my neck broke. Almost all the bones in the neck were shattered. I could barely breathe. The doctors gave me 1% that I'll survive. And this just really changed my whole life. After the accident, I went to rehabilitation. I was really trying to get well and heal myself. I was doing a lot of sports as much as I could. And I realized this thing, which was one of the first of my responsibilities, that before the accident, I used to do lots of sports. I have won many prizes in sports. I studied sports in an academy and just was very much into that. And there was a lot of competition in my life. I would compete a lot to be better, to be stronger, to beat other people. And there was really lots of competition in my life. And after the accident, I realized this thing, that there shouldn't be any competition. And whenever I would try to compete, I realized that it would be bringing me down. It's just ruining me and bringing me down and just mixing me up with all the dirt. Because whoever I would be competing with, after the accident I realized that everyone was better than me, that I'm worse than everyone, that I have no way to match others and compete with them. And when I realized that the competition shouldn't be happening, and instead I should do every single day the best that I can do, and only in this way can I actually be getting out of that pit. And maybe people who had more possibilities to compete and perhaps have now the possibilities to compete, they don't notice the harm of that competition. But at some point in life, the time comes when you don't have who to compete with and any way to compete with them. That just may lead to a total ruin. And when I started to live this way, with no competition, only full focus on myself and on my own improvement, then I started growing, I started creating, doing, I started restoring myself. I started finding my own self-esteem And in this way I was rising and rising and rising.
Tokiu būdu mano gyvenimas
And in this way my life completely changed.
mano gyvenime
My beloved wife came into my life. My business was created. I started doing lectures, consultations, and more,
taip, būtent
but only without competing.
ir prisiminiau tą gyvenime tiesiog
And I just took on this responsibility in my life to not compete with anyone,
į nieką
to not look into what anyone else is doing in comparison, only to focus on myself, only what I can do, and just by following my heart to move ahead, move forward, and every single day do the best that I can do 100% without looking at other people and comparing with them.
tokiu būdu
And in this way, in my life,
buvo.
it was a step, a very strong step to success.
Taigi, tai yra pirmoji.
So that's the first responsibility, to not compete.
Antroji,
The second responsibility
kurią savo gyvenime irgi
that I also went through in my life
tai yra prisimti atsakomybės, kurias man reikia už savo
is to take my responsibilities that I need to take that have to do with health. And how did that appear in my life?
Buvo karšta vasara
One hot summer day,
ir man atsirado širdies
my heart started beating very strongly.
savo
I was exercising with my kinesiotherapist, and my heart just started really aching, and I just couldn't finish the exercise because the pain was just too great.
ir man tas širdies skausmas kaip ir nesiliovė,
And the ache in my heart just wouldn't stop. It would hurt more and more,
nes aš nesupratau.
and I wouldn't understand why that has happened,
Ir
why that was happening.
tada
And then,
kitą dieną
the next day,
tas skausmas
the pain still didn't stop,
ir aš nuvažiavau
and I went with my parents to a hospital,
atėjo vienas gydytojas,
and one doctor came.
paklausė širdį, sako, nu, sako,
He checked my heart and he says, yeah, there are heart palpitations.
sako, tai padarysim
And then he said, so we're going to do a cardiogram. He checked and he said the cardiogram isn't showing anything. Then once again, he listened to it again and he said, yeah, well, we do hear the heart palpitations. But he said, well, with your condition, with your diagnosis, well, you cannot expect for good health.
jisai kaip ir
So he just told me to go home and he said, oh, you just drink some mineral water
ir vis
and everything should be maybe fine.
tvarkoj. Su savo diagnoze čia kaip ir nelabai ką reiktų
And he said that with my diagnosis, I shouldn't be really expecting much.
vis tiek.
And that the point is that still the neck is broken and all the organs shouldn't be functioning very well. So he just told me to go home.
Tas skausmas
The pain didn't stop. It kept hurting and hurting.
ir aš tiesiog paėmiau ir uždaviau,
And I just asked myself the question,
kodėl,
why is that happening?
ką man tuo nori,
Why is this happening to me? What's trying to be shown to me with that? Why is my heart aching?
akis iškilo
And then, in front of my eyes, a view came up of certain medicine.
ir aš tada supratau, kad aš
And then I realized that a couple of weeks ago,
pakeičiau vienu,
I changed one medicine to other medicine.
berods buvo, aš gėriau parfariną,
I was drinking the medicine called Parfarin,
pakeičiau į
and I changed it to aspirin.
ir tokiu būdu, aš man
And in this way, of course, the doctors told me to switch the medicine, switch them up once in a while, and I had changed them.
ir supratau,
And I realized then that
tas
the changing of the medicine
man lėmė, kad man va, būtent yra
was what caused the heart palpitations. So once again, I took some Parfarin and drank some of it, and it got better again.
manau,
And I think that my inner seeing was used for the first time in my health,
aš išsiaiškinau priežastį,
was finding out the cause of what was wrong, of what was happening.
būtent,
And in this way, the pains were gone, they disappeared.
kaip ir gavau per matymą,
And through inner seeing, I got the cause and the steps
aš išvengiau didžiulio
with which I could avoid the greater problems. If I hadn't taken on those responsibilities to change some things that had to do with my health, maybe today I wouldn't be speaking today, I wouldn't be making this video, and I wouldn't be able to be with you here. So that was the first responsibility. It was for my health. The second responsibility that I took for my health, it was for 1.5 years. I had the urinary bladder infection. And 1 year later, after the accident, when I went into rehab again, and during catheterizing, I picked up an infection, during which I felt really, really badly. My blood pressure was so low, it was critical. And for 1.5 years after that, I would just constantly have that infection. It would keep repeating itself. And if for a week I'm drinking antibiotics, then for another week antibiotics are helping and bringing the infection down a bit. Then after that 1 week, it would be renewed, just much stronger, and the old antibiotics wouldn't be working, would need stronger ones. And I'd reached a level where antibiotics were helping very, very little, and there was a very small part of them which were helping even a bit. And I think that if I hadn't taken on the responsibilities for my health in this place, then no antibiotics were able to help me with this infection. And when there were only a few different antibiotics that I could choose from, I went to the clinics to see what I could do to solve it, and they just offered to put a tube into my urinary bladder and just take out that little bag. And I felt with all of myself that it wasn't needed for me, that it wasn't of my path, that I cannot accept that. And I just said no. And once again I started looking deeper into seeing, into health, finding ways of what could help me. And I did find them. Just I saw that other people cannot help me. In this place, I can only help myself by finding new ways. And through my inner seeing, I had closed about 16 situations from past lives that had to do with my health, some situations from this lifetime that were influencing the urinary bladder infection. And it helped. It worked. I had cured huge pains that would be causing this infection, where no pain relievers would be of any help. And just out of the pain, I would be lying and shaking. And it was exactly my inner seeing, my responsibility that I took for my health, that helped me to fix it in that place. So in life, we also have to not give all our responsibilities to doctors. I'm not saying they're bad. Doctors are, at least I think a big part of them, are good people and very much needed and helping, etc. But we ourselves also have to take on the responsibilities for our health. And when I did that, I just started not being sick anymore. Now I can see the causes of why I get sick. More precisely, I see the reasons of why, for example, I start feeling badly in some situations. Before I get sick, I remove the causes. And for instance, to take my card, you could see things like before this realization of mine, I was drinking tons of medicine every single day that had to do with urinary bladder infection, blood pressure, stomach. I was all just feeling really terrible, and all of those problems were eventually gone. And now my tests are identical to a sports person. They're basically identical to when I was a sportsman before the accident. If I had very low pressure after the car accident, people would say, oh, it's normal. Actually, it wasn't low because of that. Now I fixed it, and right now, not only my blood pressure is good, but I'm not drinking any more medicine. Because I took on the responsibilities for my health, I found out the causes and just stopped being sick. So much about health. And as I mentioned, everyone should take on these responsibilities instead of throwing them onto doctors or someone else. You need to find the causes, eliminate them, and in this way, fix them in yourself. Now also I'll take a look. I put my computer here in order to tell you everything, so I wouldn't miss certain important things, so I wouldn't forget them. So the next responsibility would be for relationships. And some people say, oh, I don't have relationships because I'm in a wheelchair, or because I have some other defect, that's why I don't have relationships. Maybe my face is a little strange, or I have the wrong hair. Really, it's not the point. That's not why people don't find their relationships. There's always a cause why you cannot find the right relationships. And I remember a couple ladies came to me once for a consultation who said, Rokas, we'd like to work on relationships. And we started working with those relationships. At the same time, I'd also worked through that because I was single back then, and I thought I should look into that and work on that myself as well. And we were trying to find the reasons why I don't have the relationship, what I should do to bring the other person into my life, and what they should do about that as well. And we worked, and solved that. Even out of these two girls, one of them had rheumatic arthritis of joints. And the girl was walking very hardly. She was hardly walking, and we could also say that that was the cause why she didn't have a partner. But really, there are other things, as I mentioned. Because when you solve the situations, things happened quite quickly. And my wife came to my life, my wife Rita, very quickly after I solved the situations. And the woman who had the rheumatic arthritis, also a person came to her life that she's married to right now. The third girl also found a man who they stayed together for about half a year. But what the point of this is when we realize certain causes and we're conscious, we need to stay this way and be continually growing and improving. If we do something with ourselves, whether it's health or business, and then we stop being conscious, then boom, we're receiving lessons again through relationships, in business, through money, through health, in any of the areas. Lessons are coming. So the two of us, me and the girl who had the rheumatic arthritis of joints, we stayed conscious. We were working with ourselves, with energies, with negative energies, with improvement. And the other woman, she sort of got ungrounded. Sometimes when in relationships, when there's a man with a woman and they meet, and either one of them or both, they just get ungrounded from these relationships, and it's like they only see each other, they don't care of the world, of improvement, of anything, only they care about one another. In this way, they get ungrounded, disillusioned, and usually the universe grounds them, and that a lot of the time leads to divorce, and they actually did just separated because of that absence of consciousness. And we, as I previously mentioned, created families just by eliminating the obstacles.
suvokti tą,
So what you should realize
kodėl, tarkim, mes nepritraukiam tinkamų.
as to why we don't attract the right partners, all of that is within us.
Gali būti kažkaip blogai.
That can be, say, certain blockages,
Kaip ir, kad aš
that I'm not worth it, that I'm not good enough, that I'm this or that.
ir
And when we fix that,
mes tada tam
then we become ready
tinkami.
for the right partners.
Ir kai mes pasiruošim
And when we are ready for the right partners,
gyvenimą,
then they come to our lives.
mes esam pritraukim netinkamą.
And if we don't attract the right partners, who hurt us, who punish us, who betray us,
Tai irgi dėl to, kad
then that's also because
pritraukim
either we attracted people for some reasons that are wrong within us and we need to eliminate it,
arba mes jau
or we're simply
savo gyvenime
somewhere in our lives not doing the right things, and simply
tam yra
there are certain causes for it as to why that's happening, and that's also responsibilities of our own. We need to realize that, understand it, and change it. In this way,
kurie
we are receiving solutions that are also guiding us to the conscious relationship and just successful
sekanti
life.
atsakomybė, būtent
So the next responsibility that I wanted to discuss was relationships.
ir galbūt vėliau dar biški šiek tiek juos
And maybe I'll get deeper into that
Tai pakalbėsiu apie
later when I will be talking about relationships in the family.
dabar sekanti
Now, the next responsibility that I'd also like to mention
atsakomybė, tai būtų
would be work.
ir darbas yra irgi
And work is also very important.
tokį, pakalbėsiu apie tokį kaip ir irgi savo
I'll also share something as an example from my own life,
būtent man yra nutikę.
something that's happened to me.
Tai aš galvoju,
There was a time in my life when I was thinking, how do I get my business running? How do I move out all these energies?
ir buvo toks
And there was a time when
aš šiek tiek suvokiau šiek tiek apie projektus.
I got some realizations about some projects. I had done some of them,
Projektą,
completed some of them, and I thought to write a project
metu
for disabled people,
berods
for which I could get about up to 10,000 euros.
ir aš
And I tried the project
gaučiau ten priemonės
to get the tools for filming,
kompiuteriui
a computer, etc.
ir aš atsitrenkiu.
And I hit this wall.
Ta parama buvo skirta neįgaliesiems,
The project was meant for disabled people as a support, so they would get some finances for their career, for creating their own career. And I was told
kad aš
that I cannot receive the money. Why?
Kodėl? Todėl, kad pas mane 0%.
Because my workability is 0%.
Man dėl to tie pinigai.
And they decided that because of my condition, I cannot get the money. And then I just started thinking, why is that? Why did that happen? What are the causes of that?
Tie man,
That they're not letting me do that?
aš nesigilinau,
I wasn't thinking like, oh, they're evil or this or that. Maybe they are, but
tą situaciją.
the situation was attracted by me. It was teaching me something, and I'm looking through myself.
Ir aš supratau,
And what I realized was
būtent pagrindinė priežastis,
the main reason why that happened
kad man tie
was that I didn't need this money,
tas pats galiu
was that I could create without their help, without that ease of theirs, and I could receive that, all of it, just by myself.
aš pradėjau tiesiog žiūrėti
And then I just started looking at how I can do it,
ir tos priemonės, kurios tuo metu aš galėjau gauti,
and the tools that I could have received from them to make it easier. I have all of it. I don't need those things. I created my business.
vėlgi su žmona,
With my wife, we also opened up a shop and have our own office,
kur vėlgi rašant
where when writing the project,
būtų
it would
tiesiog
just be
iš dabartinio
from how I see things now.
tarkim, būtų man,
It would have actually been even much harder to make it all happen,
nes
because the project itself usually
tai būna, kur tuos finansavimus gaunu, įstatyti
has certain limitations.
ir aš kaip dabar matau,
And as I see it now, the limitations that would have put me in
mano tas judėjimas ir darimas būtų.
would have made my work and creation much more difficult.
Tiesiog kartais gyvenime nereikia ieškoti, bet
And just sometimes in life, you don't need to be looking for how to make things easier, for those comfort zones, and you need to be doing more just through yourself to do what you can.
ir taip mes kartais nueidami
And sometimes in the way where we go to try and make things easier, we make it much more difficult than if we only were creating just by ourselves.
man tada
Through ourselves.
to finansavimo nedavė.
And when I didn't get the financing, I really am not sorry about that.
Toj vietoj galbūt čia valstybės
Of course, in that case, maybe that's
taip veikia, nes
a government issue that is working this way. Because I also saw an article online
jie
that why don't the disabled people
kaip ir
sort of, why aren't they taking that loan?
kodėl jie
Why they're not taking that opportunity?
kad esmė, kad
The point is that there's such bureaucracy
priveda, kad jie net
that it's not even possible, that they don't even make it to that support, just like in my case.
ir netgi kartais
And sometimes even without that support, it gets easier than it would be with it.
čia
So that's just how it's happening with that. But the point is, as I mentioned, maybe it's not all perfect there,
gal
but
ten yra ne
the point is still to focus to ourselves,
viskas per save,
to focus on ourselves. And when we focus on ourselves, we just find many great decisions for us instead of focusing on other people. So
taigi mes
we have in our environment where it is, with the government, with the society,
šita valdžia
with our possibilities, to accept all of it,
su savo
and
galimybėm
when we accept it, to create the best that we can be creating. That's the only way that we'll improve, that's the only way we'll grow,
tik tai mes
and the fight, the rebellion,
kova
is just a way for us to blast off our energy and to use it off not where it should be,
naudojam
instead when it should be used for our own improvement.
savo tobulėjimą.
So, what else I'd like to talk about,
Ten dar norėčiau papasakoti apie
considering responsibilities,
atsakomybės. Tai yra
that will also maybe somewhat related to work for many people.
su darbu daugam ir
And it's also, at some time,
būtent kažkada tai
I had a time in my life
buvo toks metas mano gyvenime, kai aš
where I created a club for, I created a club for the healthy and the disabled called Edison.
šiuo metu
It's still alive today. So good job, guys. You're doing great.
šaunuoliai ir būtent
And at that time, I felt that I am ready
esu pasirengęs
and feeling that I can start helping other people grow as well, not only myself.
su ta intencija,
And with that intention, that's also how people should be growing.
taip, kad
Our improvement depends upon how we are able
kaip
to help other people grow as well.
padėti kitiems
How many necessary for the society things can we hand to society, give to society? In business, it can be with all kinds of products
produktais įvairiais.
or other things. Just
Kitaip
I am creating that
aš,
which society needs and what is coming from my heart.
visuomeniai
That's what our success is based upon.
priklauso mūsų sėkmė.
And we're creating something,
Ir mes
that's what we should look into. If it's coming from my heart,
į tą
what I
turime
should do,
tai eiti iš mano
because if it's not coming from my heart, then my motivation will disappear, I won't have energy for it,
dings mano motyvacija, energijos tam neturiu.
and the product won't be charged with that. So what's coming from my heart
Tai būtent
and what's also necessary for people.
kas yra reikalinga.
So to continue with this topic about the club Erzon,
Būtent apie Erzon.
so when I would take on the responsibilities by seeing what's actually important for the environment, from what I saw,
Lygiu mano požiūriu buvo reikalinga. Tai
it was a club of healthy and disabled people
toks klubas,
who would
kuris mažina
be diminishing the separation. And I realized that by
eidamas per tą
going through some places that were not suitable for the disabled, And I thought that it's going to be hard for me to fight that alone, and then it would be much better and stronger to go, instead of fighting, but to solving those problems with a group. And I wrote an article to the newspaper that people are invited to this. Some people came, quite a few, and we all together wrote a project. We made it happen. And now in the aqua park, things for the disabled came, and some other things there in the aqua park. And I also spoke with business people and with the local government that helped us a lot. And in this way, we were changing the structure. But what do I want to say by that? As I previously mentioned, the thing to create that was coming from my heart, and it was useful for the society. That's why it was successful. That's why people joined it who were also for this idea to help. If it wasn't needed, people would just see that as not a very needed thing, then just nobody would have joined it and nobody would want to do it. That's why it's very important in business and in life. And when I did that, when I saw and felt that in that I did everything that I should have done, my heart was taking me to another place to bring all of my energy somewhere else. And just out of that activity, I got back, and the whole club still remained, and is still very alive and doing its thing, and people are improving and growing there. And that's how the positive thing was created that is here until now. And also that thing why I moved back, I would have thought that, oh, I might have just stayed there, it was fun and nice, but I felt that I wasn't going to be improving there. And if you feel that you're no longer improving enough in a certain job, then you need to leave. Even though it's fun, even though it would seem warm and nice, even though it would seem like we already know everything there, we still need to leave. Because life is like steps. For example, when I started creating Airzone, I was getting on the second next step. When I got into that step, I did everything there, I realized everything there, and even though I knew everything there, everything was simple there and it was comfortable, but then I realized I needed to go on the next step and the next step. And by going on the next step again, once again, I faced some problems and challenges there, some business challenges, but that was my own step that I once again took and was successful because it was coming from my heart. And it was with a great motivation, and people did need it. So in life it's the same. Don't fall asleep on those steps, because that only causes trouble, burdens us. We feel that we're no longer improving, and that just brings a lot of problems. I also had a situation with my mother, who maybe over 20 years has been working in a company, and it would seem to me as well like the situation was kind of like a warm place, and she would sometimes be thinking to leave, but she just never was able to. And we started working through nursing with her as well. And what happened then was, for example, she would have a pain in her hand. And when she had gotten the cancer, she said, my hand aches from the medicine. And I would say, it's not because of the medicine. You just need to let go of the old job and go to create. And then she was scared, oh, if it will work or not. And a lot of people are scared because of that, just holding on to their warm spots and afraid to move further. But these warm spots lead us to difficulties, to problems, and to diseases. And really, my mom had kind of made the decision to leave the job. And then I asked her the question,
Klausiu tokio klausimo. Sakau, kas
what would you need to be given
reikėtų
so that you would decide not to leave the job?
spręstum,
What should they give you so that you would decide not to
ką
leave?
tau duotų?
But really, make the decision that if they give you that, you won't leave.
Tikrai apsispręsk, kad jau tau duos ir neišeis, sako.
She said, to add a few €100 to my salary, then I wouldn't leave.
Eurų prie
And I told her, they will give you that. But will you be satisfied with that? She said, yeah, I will be satisfied.
sako jo, sako, aš tau būsiu.
And then the first time she didn't leave the job,
Tada pirmą kartą neišėjo iš to darbo.
she got the money.
Tuos pinigus
And how much longer did she stay there working with the money?
laiko dar pradirbo su tais
I think a couple of months.
berods,
Then again, the same problems, because it wasn't about money. It's about improving.
nes nesmė pinigai.
And that just wasn't satisfying. Even if it was more money, there was still no improvement. And improvement isn't only growth in finances, it's also some other things. And these health problems were renewed again. And when she left work, then her hand once again got better. And her hand wasn't aching anymore. At the moment, she's got her own business. She's creating a product that she loves in a sewing company. Before, when she would get off work, she would just go back home and want to sleep. Now she can be working with that motivation, with that fire, until late evening, and she's still energetic, fired up, and just there's much more of that energy because you're doing what's coming from your heart, what you need to create, and where the universe is guiding you to. And then that way you can create much more, do much more, because you let go of that warm spot. So that's it about comfort zones, about the warm spots.
Tiek apie komforto zonas, apie tas šiltas vieteles. Dabar
Now, what else I'd like to mention is
dar norėčiau paminėti,
just that in life, it's very important to take on our responsibilities. How does that work? All of the causes, all of the accidents, all of the signs, they're all the signs for us that in life we're doing something wrong.
gyvenime, tarkim, kažką netaip darome.
These are just lessons that we're doing something wrong.
Mes gaunam pamoką, liga, nelaimė, ten kažkas.
Our car gets hit by another car. Just all of it, or illnesses,
Tiesiog
they're just signs for us that we are doing something wrong.
tai yra mums ženklai, kad mes kažką netaip darom.
In order for us to realize that, what we're doing wrong,
Suvokti ir pamatyti,
we first need to take on our responsibilities. That is, to 100% take responsibility for my life.
atsakomybę už savo
Everything that's happening in my life are only signs that something is wanting to be shown to me, and I accept those signs, and only by accepting these signs can we really solve them and change something, do something about them. If I say, oh, this is John, or this is Tim, or this is government, we can't do anything about that. Only by taking on the responsibilities can we change something. There's no other way, at least that I would know, or that I would have tried and worked, and that it worked. And by taking on the responsibilities, we show the universe that I am ready. I am ready to change.
aš pasiruošęs,
That I am ready to just transform these things.
pasiruošęs tuos dalykus tiesiog transformuoti.
So to seeing, to inner seeing, to solving situations,
Matymą į situacijų sprendimą,
whatever happens in life, first accept it. And first of all, accept yourself, accept your looks. Just say, I accept myself as I am.
visą kitą, kas priimu
I accept the environment as it is. I accept the state in which I'm in.
savo tą būseną, koks esu.
Because others, once again, like in my case,
Kaip ir mano atveju kažkada tai
or I sometimes meet disabled people who've gone through some traumas and they look back to their past, how it used to be. There's no past.
buvo praeitį, kaip buvo praeitį.
It happened, but it's no longer here and we'll never return to it. There's the present, in which we can do everything that we can at the moment
Galim padaryti,
as best as we can, and then we'll have a better future as well.
tokiu būdu turėsim geriau.
And let go what was in the past.
Ją
It's already gone.
nieko ten.
Just that, let it go. It's not going to be as it was, but it can be better. It can be better than it was. It can be better than it is now. But first, we need to accept all of this state.
Pirmiausia, mums reikia priimti tą visą būseną. Tai vat,
So that's with taking on the responsibilities for our lives.
savo gyvenimą.
And if, for instance, in life,
Mes, tarkim,
we also cannot, we also shouldn't take on the responsibilities of others. A lot of the times people try in families, say wives, try to take on their husband's responsibilities, maybe moms try to take on too many responsibilities for their kids, but really we should take the responsibilities only for ourselves. We cannot take the responsibilities of others. If, for example, I take the responsibility of my child,
ten, tarkim,
too many responsibilities from them or from my husband that are not mine,
yra, kurios yra
then automatically I can no longer fulfill all of my own responsibilities. My responsibility, if I'm a son, I should fulfill the responsibility as a son,
kaip sūnaus aš turiu gyventi.
but not the father's responsibilities. He's got his own responsibilities. I'm a husband. I need to fulfill fully my responsibilities as a husband, but I shouldn't be telling my wife too much about her own responsibilities. She needs to look into that and fix that on her own. So I have some also responsibilities at work,
Atsakomybės, tarkim,
as a brother, as a sister, etc.
brolius, sesuo,
But exactly look at what exactly are your responsibilities. What's your role?
jūsų atsakomybė.
Because as I mentioned, we receive
Nes mes
energies from the universe to fulfill our own responsibilities.
atsakomybėmis gyvename.
And if I'm
O jeigu aš išnaudoju
using my energy that I receive for other people's possibilities, then what happens?
ką jie turi padaryti,
Then I don't have enough energy to fulfill my own responsibilities, and I do what I don't need to do, and I don't have enough energy. Then I don't know what I need to do, and once again I'm receiving lessons that I'm not improving, that I'm not growing enough,
pakankamai tobulėji
and I'm just not creating enough.
ir tiesiog nepakankamai padarau.
And that's just very important,
Tai yra tiesiog
because when we're trying to control what's not of our own influence,
yra ne mūsų įtakoj, automatiškai mes tiesiog
then we automatically just lose a lot of energy that's meant for improvement.
energijos ir nepadarom tai, ką turėtumėm padaryti.
And taking on the responsibility through inner seeing, through subtle levels,
Per tą matymą, per subtilius lygius, kad
is that the person is created not only as a physical body,
burdas ne tik
there's also not only a physical world, but also a subtle world. A lot of the time, people don't take on the responsibilities for it. Better to not see, less situations, less solving. But the point is that if we don't see it, it doesn't mean that it's not happening. And if we take on the responsibility for it and move towards it,
prisimsim atsakomybę,
always the person will have the inner seeing. If he will achieve it, he will do it, he will see the subtle levels and everything else. Inner seeing is also something that can be trained and grown and increased.
treniruoti,
The inner seeing, the clairvoyance.
būtent vidinis matymas.
And when people don't take the responsibilities for that ability of theirs,
Tai vyksta kaip
imagine how you would put your hand into your pocket and hold it there for half a year. What will happen from it? It will simply get atrophied and will be weak. Same with inner seeing. If in this lifetime or in some few other lifetimes the person wasn't using that inner seeing, it kind of dies down and it's either blocked or just very, very tiny. That's why it needs to be restored and trained and worked on and used to achieve life goals. That tool and that ability is not given to us without a reason. So say the person comes to society and he needs to get to know the society.
jis turi susipažinti su ta visuomenė.
And a lot of the times the people are like babies
Būna tokie kaip kūdikiai. Jie,
who, for example, don't believe in God.
pavyzdžiui, yra net
They feel like, oh, it's just gonna be as it happens.
bus kaip bus,
Something will protect them, something will take care of them, and they don't care of anything.
bus pasirūpins ir viskas dzin.
And then they give over all of their responsibilities to someone, maybe
Galbūt ten kažkas
like the little kid.
galvoja, kad
He doesn't know what's gonna happen
mažas vaikas,
or what's happening around him.
žinau, kaip čia bus, kas čia pasirūpins.
But the point is that us as beings, as personalities, we need to grow.
Reikia augti
We need to grow on the subtle levels and on the physical levels.
fizikoje ir
That's just improvement,
yra
common improvement.
tobulėjimas, bendras tobulėjimas. Ir
And just like the baby grows and then becomes a kid and becomes older, he starts going to school and he gets more responsibilities. So in the same way, the person starts believing in something, focused on some laws of the universe, on some laws of consciousness, growing and understanding more. And when they start using that in life, are going to success more and more. When they grow up even more, they understand even more, school, university, work, family, and that's how the growth is working just from that baby. And same with inner seeing, we tend to understand more, we take on the responsibility not only on the physical level, but also on the subtle level. We take on the responsibility that we may need to fix certain things and work on the subtle levels too. We can choose to be those babies who will just flow with the destiny, or in our life, we can focus in a certain direction where our hearts are guiding us. And in this way, we can avoid many of those problems, many of those unnecessary accidents, avoid many of those illnesses, and just live. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy, but to live through challenges that we will solve, we will change, and grow through them, instead of problem after problem, and just see how to live paycheck to paycheck, and we're still in lack and we're still in problems. So just through improvement, the problems go away. But the improvement has to be full in all kinds of areas of our lives. So that's also another topic, responsibility in the path of improvement. That is when people choose a certain direction of improvement, or a certain goal, a business, or to fulfill something else, they're often finding for things to latch onto. That, oh, someone needs to support me, my wife, some friend, the environment. You don't need things to latch onto. What you need is the decision in improvement that you are choosing your path. And if you have chosen this path, that means that it is your responsibility and you need to fulfill it. And you shouldn't be looking for some extra things to latch onto. Because everything that you want to latch onto, imagine that you're in a certain situation, you're going in the path of your life, and you grab a bunch of more things to latch onto. That makes it even more difficult to improve, grow, and move further. Just the things to latch onto are not needed for us. And if I take a responsibility to fulfill something, to make something happen, it means that I can do it. I don't need the things to latch onto. And if I say that I can't do it, and I still latch onto stuff, in this way, I'm simply showing the universe that I'm not ready for it. If you need some things to latch onto, then you're not ready for it. And automatically the energies will be flowing into us, not as they should be. And maybe it will even be more difficult to fulfill that thing. So without fears, if you choose through your heart the things that you need to make happen, without any fear, without any way of waiting for someone else to bring up your motivation, but just decide, I'll do it, I can do it, my heart is guiding me to do it. And just in this way, you'll be able to create much more. And even sometimes people, they get into certain pits of life and are looking for those things to latch onto, and they're thinking, oh, help me, it's so hard for me, and they're doing nothing, but they're just like this, throwing away their responsibilities to others. And in ourselves, a certain energy, when it resonates, an energy of pity, and we're like, oh, it's so hard for you, but in reality, think of it. How are you feeling when you're pitying yourself? It's a very terrible state. When you're pitying someone else, you're sending the other person the same kind of energy. And it's not only that it's difficult for him just from his own energy of pity, but then his energy of pity burdens him even more. And the point is that what can you say to that kind of person? The only thing, find out the causes and improve, grow,
tobulėti
take your hands into your life,
gyvenimą,
and only by changing yourself can you change your life.
keisdamas į
And there can be no pity here.
Tai čia jokio gailesčio negali būti.
And there are also some situations when people go to speak with someone who wants to throw their negativity away, and then they're feeling badly themselves from the negativity.
Bet dabar prastai jaučiasi, kad va tom
So you can just take on the negativity from other people in this way. And how? Because you should simply tell him that they need to be improving themselves and growing by themselves, instead of just allowing them to be a victim fully.
mūsų aplinka, imant žiūrint subtiliam lygiui, visada jungia tam tikrus
In our lives, there are certain connections and channels that we have with the universe, with other people. There are divine and undivine channels. Divine channels are those that are leading towards improvement, and non-divine channels are those that are leading to degradation. For instance, I want to create a business with someone that would help the society, that would employ many people. And for example, if we're going in the right way with a person, listening to our hearts, it will be a divine connection. But for example, if with some person I sort of
kaip ir
come up with an idea, like maybe there's some friend that I go to drink with, drink some alcohol with once in a while, and one of the friends stops drinking,
vienas iš draugų nustoja gerti alkoholį,
and then there's just no more communication with that person.
Komunikacija su tuo žmogum,
That means there was only a non-divine connection with that person, which was alcohol.
kuris yra
And these connections are simply needless, because they're leading to degradation, not to improvement. So what can also be done is to ask
tai dar ką galima
that all the connections and channels, ask Father and Mother Earth, that all the channels with all the people in your environment would be put into the divine mechanisms of transformation and restored as divine connections. Ask for all the unnecessary connections that are bringing you down to cancel them out. And in this way, even in the subtle levels, the ones that can be restored automatically will be restored. And you will be bringing the right people into your life. Also, with the people who you're not improving with, then they're not needed for you.
netobulėja, jums nereikia
You don't need to kind of maintain the old friends or something.
draugus, senus ar dar kažką įsikabinti.
The people that are needed to you are those that you're going towards improvement with. And when you let go of the unnecessary people, then automatically the people that are necessary for you come to you. And when you're holding the people who are not needed for you, or the old jobs or anything, holding the comfort zone,
Ar dar kažką čia kitos
then my life,
kabinės,
then the people who cannot come to my life who would be bringing me towards greater improvement. So what you need and you don't need, just check through your heart. And if you don't need it, let it go. If you don't let it go, then automatically you'll just be in old energies where energy won't be flowing.
tos energijos,
In this way,
ties ir tokiu būdu
getting your energy channel stuck,
energetinius kanalus,
which also
kurie
will burden you simply.
vėlgi apsunkins,
And you'll just be in heavy energies.
būsi ten tiesiog
So the person is like a channel through which he's receiving the energy from the universe. The energy flows through us,
pro mus
and we just have to create something with that energy. But we need to be clean channels.
bet mes turim būti
Our responsibility is to be clean channels.
mūsų atsakomybė būti švariems kanalams ir tą energiją save, kurie užlaiko
And we tend to get this energy stuck in some ways. Some people, friends that we shouldn't be with,
ar dar
maybe some ugly situations at work.
situacijos,
All of these people are energy that is going through us, and we need to let it to go through us, pass through us, and take on the new energy. If we get stuck on those things,
mes užstrigdom tuos dalykus,
then that's where the problems come in our lives.
būtent tos problemos. Ir mūsų
And all of us have to fulfill our purpose of life for which we're here in this lifetime. And every person is born in a certain society,
vyksta tam tikroje visuomenėje,
and the first stage towards their life goal
pirmas
is to get to know the society.
tai yra
The second goal, the second responsibility,
antras etapas,
is usually when our soul awakens.
dažniausiai būna
Our soul starts trying to find a deeper meaning of life.
ieškoti gilesnės gyvenimo prasmės. Ir kai jinai
And when people reach this stage, then they choose all kinds of philosophical
galbūt filosofijos
or religious
mintis, ar ten
sections, some ways of improvement, and in this way they're improving. But in this way, the universe is simply guiding them toward listening to their heart. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe some choose a few lifetimes to go there, to get there, but the point is that it is happening. And that second stage is always leading towards listening to one's heart. And when the person starts listening to their heart everywhere in life, then all of them, they see their life's purpose and fulfill it. There's also a fourth stage that I talked about in one of the videos, but the point is that you first need to take on the responsibility for listening to your heart and for fulfilling the purpose of your life. That's important because always the universe is moving us towards our purpose, and we will need to do it. Maybe we won't do it in this lifetime, maybe in another lifetime, but we still need to be trying to fulfill it, because then we're much more successful, because the universe is also aiding us in achieving that. And sometimes I like to say, what's listening to your heart? What is that? So I'll just give an example just from my own life. Also one friend of mine who came to me and he said, well, this isn't going very well for me and this too. And he says, why is that? Why is that happening? And I told him, well, that's because you're not listening to your heart. And we started talking about the heart, what it is, and I tried to explain him. And after maybe 2 weeks, he came to me again and he said, this heart thing is just bullshit and it doesn't work. And I told him, what did you do? How did that occur for you? And he said, he was doing some illegal activities at that time. And with those illegal activities, he was doing that with certain people. And his heart, he said, my heart was telling me I shouldn't be working with those people, but I was just feeling that I need to start doing it on my own, doing those illegal businesses. And I told him, no, there wasn't the heart. Just think about it. What would you do in life if you had money, a work, a job, or not a job, but if you had money, if you had something to get dressed with, if you had a home, if you had a car, what would you do in life then? Would you still be doing the same thing? He says no. And he said a certain activity that he would do then that was completely unrelated to the illegal activities. And we saw that he was doing the illegal activity for money. And if he was going from his heart and doing something that will be useful for him and for other people as well, then he would have everything. And he saw that the activity would be totally different. And I told him, yeah, that is your heart's path. And he said, well, I'm not going to make any money from that thing. And he simply didn't choose that activity until now. But in this way, life is simply throwing him, and one way or the other, he's still being led to it, and I think that he'll still go back to that activity. Of course, it's at least good that he stopped the illegal activity, but he still didn't focus on his heart, but to money, and that's the main disadvantage. Money is like the effect of following the path of your heart. When you're following the path of your heart, doing what you need to do, then you receive the money. So not the other way. So much about life's purpose and about responsibilities, and we all need to take on the responsibility for our own life's purpose and fulfill it. Only then can we have more success in life. Also, I'll mention the 6 areas of improvement where we need to take on our responsibilities. So first one is career, that we need to be pursuing in one way or the other, where our heart is taking us in that career. And career is like a highway. And in the left of the highway, there's family. On the right, there's free time. And they're holding us so we wouldn't get out of the highway. The energy of the family is giving us certain energy for the career, and the career, of course, and the money is giving us certain energy for the family. Free time is kind of like, say we're working out, and career is like tensing a muscle, and free time is like relaxing the muscle. If the muscle is always tense, it will simply have an injury. And if in life we will have the right free time, the muscle will get stronger and stronger and stronger. And thus, oftentimes I also encounter situations where people say, oh, family will be hurting me, stopping me, I can create much more on my own. And I think that they're mistaken. Of course, it's important that it's coming from your heart, and the family brings a certain stability, self-assurance. And of course, when a woman comes to a man's life, there's an exchange. And by exchanging that energy, people can create even more. And there's man and woman not for a reason, not only man, not only woman. It's not just for reproduction, but also that people can exchange their energies and create much more. As there is, for instance, childhood, youth, maturity, and old age. I also spoke about the topic once. So the point is that in childhood someone teaches you, in youth you're searching for something, in maturity you create, and in the old age you appreciate the fruits of your labor. And if all the time we are without our family, then it's harder for us to reach that maturity. And if I'm in the stage of youth, automatically those energies of the stage of youth have to do with searching for the right partner, for the right activity, just searching. And maturity is no longer searching, it's creating. And if we're in a family, if we're in maturity, we receive the energy from the universe not for searching, but for creating. So if I'm searching, I'm only trying this and that, but I cannot create. When I'm in maturity, I can create much more. When I'm in maturity, I create much more. So the first way ahead is career. On one side, there's family. That's very important. And as I mentioned, in family, you also need to take on responsibilities of your own. And on the right side, there is a direction of free time, leisure time that has to be correct. And of course, it's not that I do my work, then boom, go to a bar, get some beers, some vodka, and relax in this way. That's not the right way to relax, because alcohol really wastes a lot of energy of improvement, and that energy can be used much more, much better if it was focused on career. And we should really choose a free time that your soul and your spirit would be guided to improvement with. So much in the career, so much in the family, and in the free time. All of these areas, also we need to be improving in those, and just seeing how we can be improving there as well. Also, there's another area, that is the area above, that's the subtle levels and the connection with the Father. Father being God. We need to maintain that connection. We need to have that, be improving in that. And that is, as I understand, maybe at first it's faith, then getting deeper into inner seeing, and which brings the knowing. And then from that knowing, through inner seeing, through subtle levels, we can be moving our life and even be eliminating some blockages from the career and all kinds of programs that are hurting us, and to find out the causes why certain things are working better, certain things worse, and in this way move even more optimally in those areas. That is in the family, in the free time, and in the career too. Then there's the direction below. There's all 6 of them altogether. So one of them is down into the earth. That is connection with Mother Earth. There has to be a balance. The person cannot be just up there and grounded. Also, it's needed that with the subtle levels we wouldn't go up and get ungrounded. The subtle levels aren't for searching for something up there. It is meant for improving, to change my life on the physical level. That's why we're working on the physical levels, only for that. Not to see some other worlds or something, or travel there, or just be flying around in the astral plane. Not for that, because people go up, they focus where they shouldn't be focusing, and that also brings problems. So there's no life, no balance in life. And Mother Earth grounds. And all kinds of activities can ground, like just being in the yard, in the nature. But when there's inner seeing, we can even more optimally see how we can ground each person while there's not of that grounding, and how to restore it 100% as it needs to be. And how to be walking your life's path, not by flying around, but when you're on the ground fully. Because if some person gets ungrounded for certain energies, the universe is just created in this way that it brings the person down, and a lot of the time it's a smashing, falling down on the ground. That's why we should be walking firmly on the ground. And the other direction behind our back is our past or our karma. And the point is that what we need to do with it, we cannot so simply let go of all of the past. Certain situations need to be closed and realize what happened there wrongly. Because in that case, we just receive lessons from them. And when we realize those situations, then we sort of show the universe we won't do that anymore, because there's no point for us to do that, because we see that's not correct, and that's just not useful for us. And sometimes even from the past, sometimes from past lifetimes, we close the situations and we eliminate the obstacles that are guiding you toward moving your heart. I'm not saying you should be cleansing your karma for the sake of cleansing it. The point is that sometimes when you're walking the path of your heart, certain obstacles that appear have to do also with past lives. In that case, we need to close the situations that have to do with that, so that the obstacle wouldn't be appearing for us. So all of the 6 directions that we need to take on the responsibilities for, and just to be growing within them. If there's some area that we just get rid of or not focus on, or just say, oh, that's unimportant, or that's not needed, then it will simply be kind of like a tail in our life that's we're going to be dragging behind us. And when it comes out, usually it's going to be pretty negative. Maybe we won't notice it, or somehow just, oh, that's just how it happens. It happens for everyone. But in reality, there will always be a cause for it, and there will be a cause that you can solve. Of course, the choice the choice is whether to solve it or to live with it and not do anything about it. That's just a choice for everyone. Now the inner seeing. To look in greater detail about inner seeing, there are subtle senses. A person has subtle senses. There's subtle vision, When he sees, for example, situations, past lives, he sees them. Then there's also subtle hearing. When one can, for example, when there's connection with one's divine team, the soul, the spirit, the highest ones, when we restore the connection with them, we can hear how they're speaking with us or communicating with us. We can solve situations that have to do with that. And then there's also subtle senses, like subtle taste, where we can taste and smell the energies. Maybe there's no smell, but we can just smell the energies of someone else. Or we can smell high vibrations. This is also subtle, a subtle sense. Then there's also a subtle sense that when something aches, maybe your hand aches, and because of those aches, people go to doctors. They go to the doctors, and the doctors say, well, we cannot find anything, there's nothing there. Just the person is feeling the subtle levels, and the illness still didn't go down to the physical level. And because the person is sensitive on the subtle level, is already sensing from there. But when you have inner seeing, it's kind of just like an additional tool to cut off the disease before it gets down into the physicality, just through this subtle sense. So much about subtle seeing. For the ending, maybe I wasn't able to cover everything just here, because there's quite a few videos that I made about similar things before. So here I discuss a little bit more about some of them without getting too much in depth. If you can also find the information that I'm talking about. To go deeper into it, there's lots of the videos, you can go through them, and you'll find the information in an even deeper way. But also for the ending, maybe I'd like to discuss where to start moving towards that inner seeing, where to start with moving towards consciousness. And of course there's lots of seminars, all kinds of teachings, lots of people teaching things like that. The most important is to choose those teachings through your heart. Where are you attracted the most? That will be the step that you should start with. I'm not saying, oh, you should come with me or you should go to some other guy. The point is that you need to learn to choose by yourself what's right for you, just through your heart. That's the most important. You shouldn't be looking, oh, this person gets more views or more people, more traffic. You shouldn't look, oh, this person has millions of people in his seminars, or have some other magical abilities or whatever. The most important is that your heart is showing you where to go and study in order to improve. Also, it's important to watch your environment, watch the signs, try to decipher them, what's trying to be shown to you through them. Why is that happening? Communicate with yourself, talk to yourself. Pull out the information from yourself, because there's really a lot of it there. Also, at first, you can be working with negative energies, be taking them out. For example, I'm very angry. Simply ask for that energy of the anger to go out, the energy of revenge, etc. Forgive your environment. Of course, if you'd already been working with yourself, then once again, don't focus on old methodologies. For example, this one of bringing the darker energies out. The point is that there always constantly needs to be improvement and growth. Move ahead, go forward. One of the main ingredients is, as I mentioned, to accept the situation, to first of all love yourself, to fulfill yourself with love. And when you really love yourself, then you will love others as well. When you will be improving even more, then you will love yourself even more, and there will be more and more love around you. And in this way, the improvement will also be happening. The important thing is to not stop. to try and move forward. And in this way, in your life, you'll just achieve and create much more. Thus, that's it for today about responsibilities. Maybe a bit shorter way to explain, but I think I made the point clear that I wanted to make clear. Until next time, good luck. Take on the responsibilities for your life, and in this way, you will see that you are able to do much more, that you're much more successful, and everything is moving much more simply in your life and much more successfully. Until next time, that's it. This was Rokas, seeing.world, and be successful and happy. Bye.